So the topic of our meeting is mindfulness, and I'll just give a few more moments for everyone to sign in. So first, we have our therapy, social, collaborating with FFA. So it will be tomorrow, and it will be 6 to 7 p.m. at Watkins Lawn. And come de-stress and learn about how these therapy pets can be helpful to neurodivergent individuals. And then we also have Director of Events and Outreach voting. So voting should be done by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. and only active official members may vote. And there's the QR code and tiny URL. So next Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. at Hub 268, we will have the Career Paths and Success Workshop. So Dr. Shishitsky, the department chair and professor from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, will be coming with us, and he will join us to give unique insight on graduate school from being a department chair, and then also helping us prepare application materials, touching on resume and CV, and looking at different paths such as PsyD, PhD, and master's. And some upcoming events. So Monday, November 20th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We have the Fall Lab Fair at Hub 302 South. So the Fall Lab Fair is an annual event for Psychi where different research labs on campus are invited to come with representatives where they can talk about their research, maybe say if there's opening applications for research assistants, and you can also engage with the faculty of UCR in general. And we also have General Meeting 4 on clinical neurofeedback on Wednesday, November 22nd from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. And we will be having a licensed clinical psychologist come to speak about neuropsychology and do a demonstration on neurofeedback or brainwave testing. And we also have fall inductions coming soon. So we'll celebrate our new members from summer and fall quarters with us. And it will be November 16th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Hub 265. And make sure to RSVP by next Monday. And there's the QR code to do so. And we also have constitution voting. So make sure to vote on passing the amended version by Monday, November 13th. And all changes will be highlighted in green on the constitution. And there's also a QR code and Google form. So now is for the general meeting portion. It will be mindfulness with Elizabeth Blake, who's a mindfulness coach for the practice medicine with words. And the goal is to help people live with intention. And without further ado, I'll let her give her an introduction.
Hi, can I just confirm that I can be heard and I've pressed everything correctly?
Sorry, we can't hear you yet, Elizabeth. Let me try to work this out. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I've unmuted.
We can hear you now, but it's not connected to speaker.
Okay, let's see. What would I need to connect to? Hold on one second. Okay, so it says it's unmuted. Is that working?
Like we can hear you, but it's more a problem on our end. Like we can't like connect it to the speaker.
Ah, it's on your end. Okay, cool. So you tell me when you'd like me to talk.
Okay.
Is it in like the setting?
Oh, people over Zoom can hear okay.
Oh, oh yeah, I think.
So I see. So maybe if you turn off, at least then it will not have that feedback. Okay, so I'm going to start. I love seeing what's up about me. It's very exciting when I get to read everything I've done. So thank you for having me, first of all. And I'm always appreciative of people taking the time to understand mindfulness, because it's a word that gets thrown around, especially nowadays. We throw around all sorts of words to do with self. And to take that time to understand what it means is really important. And I think it's important to recognize that it means different things for different people. So I started this practice called Medicine with Words, because for me, mindfulness is connected to that. We exercise our bodies, or we're supposed to. I'm not the best at it. We think about what we're putting into our bodies, our healthy eating. But actually, the mind is the part of us that is the most powerful. You know, without it, we have nothing. And yet, do we exercise it? Do we look after it properly? Do we think about what we're putting in it as well as what we have coming out of it? And our current world that we live in and life is a lot. It's a lot to take on. It's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to think about. And so if we are constantly aware of what our mind is doing, we can live a much healthier lifestyle. So mindfulness, to me, I wrote a few things because I always enjoy reassessing and reminding myself of what I think mindfulness is. And actually, the first word I wrote was kindness to the self, because it's something that we kind of ensure we do for other people. We're taught as children, you know, be kind, speak kindly to each other. You know, don't shout, don't say nasty things. But we're not often taught to do it to ourselves or for ourselves. And so kindness is something I'm going to touch on for the self. The other thing I wrote down is that mindfulness helps us handle life. It attempts to bring us a feeling of peace and serenity, a calmness, to simplify our lives. Because again, the world we live in is incredibly fast paced. It's filled with what you should do. We have a should disease in society. There's a lot of noise. And that noise represents itself now in the form of technology, as well as every other medium that we have access to. So mindfulness brings in a sense of self-awareness to all of this, to all of these elements, allowing us to take those moments to just stop, check in with ourselves, and take that time to breathe. I also wrote a few things like, we are all different. Because again, the word mindfulness is a generalization. You know, if someone was to say, do you exercise? What works for me might not work for someone else. And mindfulness is the same. Maybe there are people that enjoy meditating for an hour, and maybe there are people that can only do it for 30 seconds. It doesn't matter. We're all different, and we all find our own ways of doing this. And so I've created these tools and exercises, and they can be utilized in any way for as long as you want, whenever you want. So we're going to go over a few of those in a minute.
Mhm.
Then I would just say the last thing about mindfulness to me is about grounding yourself and really forcing us and reminding us how important it is to be present, to be in the now. So even coming on this, you know, by me stopping for a second, prepping before I started to speak, just taking a few deep breaths and recognizing where I am and what I'm doing was all part of me getting in tune with my mind, getting me in tune with what's my purpose right now? What am I supposed to be delivering? Why am I delivering it? What do I want at the end of this hour? What do I want you to have taken away from it? So becoming very well aware of what's going on up here. And that is mindfulness to me. The self-awareness, the living intentionally, making those choices to say what I'm saying, do what I'm doing, knowing what the end result is going to be and my purpose. That's how I would describe mindfulness with what I do. And as I said, I've created these tools and these exercises, and we'll go over those. So 1 minute of just explaining why I might be the right person to talk about this is because I have complex PTSD, which started from a very young age and took me all the way through my adulthood. I've also been severely bullied in my life at various stages, actually. So not throughout my entire life, but at school, at college, at university, and as an adult. Now, they were finite periods, 6 months at the maximum. One was on a film set as an adult, so that was a matter of 3 weeks. But having experienced all of this, having understood who I am and why I am the way I am, has afforded me that time to become very self-aware and enabled me to understand other people, and has enabled me to work with young people from the age of 5 all the way up to 95. Because even though we're all different, even though we've all experienced different things, the way that we can get ourselves to feel present, to feel grounded, to take ourselves out of survival mode or fight or flight, there are still the same techniques. As I said, it's just what we do with those. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So I'm going to share a very simple one to start with. As you can hear from my accent, I am British. And British people are known for enjoying a cup of tea. So when I run my sessions or my workshops, or even when I'm speaking at events or running a booth, I will make sure everybody has a tea bag. You don't have to like British tea like I do. It could be any type of tea bag. And it's a metaphor as well. I don't drink coffee, but it can be the same concept. What I try to do is get people to understand the difference between monotasking and multitasking. So again, we live in a society where we are applauded for doing a lot, fitting a lot in, being shattered at the end of your day. Oh, I've had such a busy day today. And everyone says, oh, well done, you've done really well. I am the opposite of that. I used to do that. I used to do that when I lived in London. You could fit in 12 meetings a day in London. When I came to LA and I realized with the traffic, you can really barely only fit one in. So this monotasking became important, doing one thing and doing it well. And also what that enables you to do is for your brain to breathe, to take this time. And I realized something that we all do is have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. So again, any time of the day, and I try to do this in the morning. Imagine that time spent on being totally present when you choose the tea or the coffee that you're going to have. You then wait for the kettle to boil or the percolator to do its job. You then let it seep. You let the flavors start to build. And then you stand and drink it. A process that could be maybe only 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. But in that time period, imagine if you weren't answering the phone. Imagine if you weren't responding to text messages. Imagine if you weren't quickly getting on your computer to just try and fit something in. Imagine if all you did was concentrate on that drink. And what that does is it slows the brain down. It stops us from being in this spin of the world. And it also means our senses become more heightened and more aware. The sipping of it, the listening to the kettle, the smelling of it, the feeling of the hot mug and the water and the hot liquid going down our throat. All of those sensations mean you have to take your brain away from thinking about that email or thinking about that text message. And it may sound a really silly or simple or superfluous thing to do, but that's what mindfulness is all about. Staying present and taking that time to think about what you're doing at that moment, at that time, putting your energy into that thing. And it's a habit. It's a habit that can be created in all sorts of things. The monotasking side of things, no multitasking. And as a society, as I said, we don't appreciate that. And so it takes us to all start this change. So once you've taken that time to have that cup of tea, I do one thing as well in the morning that I think is really crucial. I ask myself this question: how do I want to feel at the end of my day? Just think about that. How do you want to feel at the end of your day? That might be a word, successful. It might be enchanted. It might be refreshed. It doesn't matter. But if you think about how you want to feel at the end of your day, everything you do throughout the day will then be related to that feeling. Your decisions will relate to that feeling. Let's do a simple version. If I was to say to myself, okay, at the end of the day, I want to feel really healthy, then if I'm giving the option to eat a piece of chocolate cake at lunchtime, and I've remembered that's how I want to feel, I might intentionally choose not to. And whatever I do will lead me to feeling at the end of the day healthier. Maybe I want to say, how do you want to feel at the end of the day? Like I thoroughly spoiled myself today. So instead, when I'm offered that chocolate cake, I'm going to eat it. I'm going to choose to do it. Because there is no right or wrong with mindfulness, as long as you're doing it intentionally, making those intentional choices, as opposed to what normally happens, which is we're just taken into the whirlwind of the day, taken into the whirlwind of life, and say yes or no or maybe, or I don't really know, or I better fit this in, or what if I don't do this? What's going to happen then? Well, if you've made your intentional choices of how you want to feel, then those choices throughout the day will naturally start to take place. and you'll feel better about your choices. It's also good at the end of the day, when you're starting this practice, to actually go back and acknowledge it. What did I say this today? What did I say I wanted to feel like this morning? How do I feel now? Because mindfulness is about being aware. It's an awareness of what you're doing, thinking, feeling. Now, it doesn't mean that this is going to be really easy and everyone can just start this immediately, but it is about starting. It is about making a choice. So that's why I'm giving these very simple exercises. I've got some more. But even if for the week you started with that tea exercise and you then became aware of, oh gosh, you know what? I didn't realize I didn't think about what I was doing. I didn't realize that when I was drinking my tea, my mind wanders off to plan the rest of the day. Or I didn't realize that when I wake up in the morning, I've got no idea how I want to feel. Awareness, self-awareness. Sometimes it can be misconstrued to being selfish. And I have a real problem with that word because it has a negative connotation. And I actually think it's a really positive thing to be selfish, to think about yourself. Because if we don't think about ourselves, then how can we show up, be that person we want to show up as? So the third exercise, which I think is really good, is again an intentional choice of not showing up as your best self or your higher self, but showing up as your favorite self. What does that look like? So again, making a decision on how you want to show up in the world. So if I was to describe my favorite self, it's somebody that smiles a lot. It's someone that makes people laugh. It's someone that can join in with good conversation and have good opinions. It's somebody that wants to transform one person's life each day. So I have this kind of list that I can think about. And so again, if I'm going to wake up in a bad mood and look grumpy or feel sad, then I'm not showing up as my favorite self. So how can I expect other people to? How can I expect my ripple effect to have a positive impact on people and the world around me? So far we've got three things: the cup of tea, monotasking. We have got how do I want to feel? And we've got what is your favorite self? What does your favorite self look like, feel like, sound like? Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. I love this question as well. Now, this is a question not for yourself, but for other people. Instead of how do you feel? How are you doing? Are you okay? Actually asking people, how's your heart? And you can start by asking yourself, if you want to, how is your heart today? How does your heart feel? And I think it's a question that again gets people to just stop and think, as opposed to being on autopilot. I'm going to show you one of my drawings, okay? This is my autopilot drawing. So I love drawing and I love writing, and I come up with really funny things. And this is the autopilot. So the point of that question, and you can come up with your own question for people, is to take people out of autopilot. So when I drew my plane here, I've got the lines from each window coming out, and out of each window, I've got, this is what my autopilot looks like. Open my eyes, get dressed, go to work, work all day, maybe go to the gym or the pub or see friends, come home to see family, watch TV, bedtime. And you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And before we realize it, the autopilot is running our life. So by doing any of these little things that I'm throwing at you means that you are stopping autopilot. You are actually causing autopilot to have to do something different, to have to think about something else. And so I wrote here, acting without conscious intention or awareness of present moment sensory perception. So I'm just going to ask us to sit for a second, because we're kind of on autopilot in a way here. We're sitting, maybe we've got some distractions, maybe things are happening. Right now, I want to take us to our senses, because what that does, not just with the question, but actually thinking about every sense, again, grounds us, brings us to the present, and makes us more mindful of all of our actions. So let's just think about what it is. I can't see where you guys are or what you're doing. So let's just take it in. Look around you. So let's do eyes first. What can you actually see? What have you got in your eye line? What haven't you seen? What looks different? What haven't you noticed before? How do the colours look? Are they vibrant? Have you got a good light on? A bad light? Just looking around at everything. You might notice things that you hadn't seen before. Then the next sense, let's do the smell. What can you smell? Has someone just started cooking? Did you finish cooking? Is there a candle burning? What can you smell around you? Can you smell your perfume still? And now what can you taste? You taste that you need some water, or can you taste food you just ate, or can you taste your mouth's watering because you know what you're about to eat? Okay, now what can you hear? I can hear my daughter watching the TV in the other room. I can hear my dog snoring. I can actually hear my breathing. Now what can you feel? What can you feel? Do you want to feel your shoulders? Can you already, just by not moving, feel that your legs are maybe getting pins and needles? Or can you feel your toes? Can you move your toes? And again, all of this just brings you back to the present. That's what mindfulness is. What am I doing now? Because we're often filled with fear, and it's because of the things that we're thinking about in the future. We're not being present. We're not being self-aware right now. As I said, when I was living in London, I would try and have so many meetings in the day. I was also at a stage when I was running these sessions in the beginning. I was wanting to make sure I gave value for money, and I told everybody everything, and I did as much as I could. And then I realized actually that's not helping anybody. That's not actually slowing us down, taking the time. So those 4 exercises I've already given you could take you an hour if you just sat there and thought about it. It's about breathing, about our brain breathing. It's filled with so much noise all the time. So anything that takes us out of this autopilot notion is positive. Anything. And you can help with other people doing the same as well. You can, as I said, ask them a question, help them understand where they're at, why they're distracted. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I obviously can't get your answers, but I want you to think about it, which is, are you on autopilot? That's the first question. Really think about it and be honest with yourself. And maybe there's a bit of journaling there, or maybe there's some kind of like thinking about that and realization that will come to you. And it might not hit you today, it might hit you in the future. So my next question would be, when did you last have a reset? Because mindfulness to me is about having resets. And that reset could be, maybe you need them every hour. Maybe you need one a day, once a week. I've worked out that my reset comes about every 6 months. And it's understanding, what does that look like for you? Again, remember when I said at the beginning, we are all different. This isn't one size fits all. What is it that you need? What does your reset do for you? My reset allows me to remove myself from anything day to day. And sometimes I only need a day. Sometimes I've actually needed a week. And suddenly my brain will start to clear and fresh ideas come in, new concepts, new thoughts. And I don't know when it's going to hit me, but it does. So a reset, thinking about those resets, it might be that the cup of tea is enough to reset you. It might be that you need to take a little bit longer. But when did you last have a reset? When were you last able to be conscious of yourself? When did you take time for yourself? How do you use your time? Now, some people might go, oh, no, I use it really well. I fill every minute of every day. That's the point. I don't feel that that is the correct answer for mindfulness. If you're intentionally choosing to do that, that's different. But you should be intentionally choosing to have those beats in that to reset. Have that moment of what's that time out? What's that time out look like to you? Who do you want to put your time and energy into? Sometimes if you put in the diary or the calendar, you time, and actually structurally put that there so that you don't fill it with other things, that's just as important. I love it when that happens. I've put that I was going away and maybe I didn't end up going away, but I put nothing in for those 2 days. And suddenly I have this time. So how do you use your time? Do you stop and smell the roses? Again, that's metaphorical of slowing down, stopping and thinking about your body, all your senses. What does that look like for you? And if you do it, does it make you feel uncomfortable? Because mindfulness is about questioning ourselves all the time with everything that we do. So let's say you do that and it makes you feel uncomfortable. It's then looking at it and going, well, why? Why do I feel uncomfortable stopping? Why do I feel uncomfortable taking an hour out from my day? Where does that come from? Where does that mindset come from? Is it the should disease? Should we be doing something? Why do we feel guilty? Is it the guilty disease? What does that look like? And mindfulness is so much fun because you get to question yourself. You get to question these belief systems that you have had ingrained in you. And it allows you this space to change, make choices, say, I'm going to do things differently. I love mindfulness. It's just like a big game. This is a really important question. And this is, again, another exercise that can be quite difficult for some people. Ironically, I thought it was going to be difficult in the old people's home that I worked in, and they loved this question. If you died today, would you die happy? And you can answer that at any age, because it's that, again, that concept of, have I achieved today what I want to achieve? I'm not saying, have you done everything in your life that you want to have done? I was thinking, what is it that I'd like to have done? I was going to say jump out of a plane, but actually, I don't think I really do want to jump out of a plane. But let's pretend I did, okay? And I haven't done it. I'm not saying that means I wouldn't die happy, even if I was desperate to do it. From today, from what I've done today, leading up to this point, if I died right now, would I die happy in the knowledge of what I've done, what I've achieved, who I am, how I've chosen to live my life? And if your answer is no, then that's where you go into the next phase of, okay, well, what and why? But if you're living intentionally, as I said, even if you haven't done and ticked that box of, I wanted to climb the Pyrenees, I wanted to be the first man on the moon, I don't know, all those things. It's not about that. It's about, as a feeling today, that mindfulness of now. And I'm not, again, saying I wouldn't want to leave my daughter. I don't want to leave my dog. This is just a metaphorical version of, if I died today, would I die happy? And if you can say yes, then you are doing the right thing. You are on the right track. And I just think those questions are really important to keep reminding ourselves, taking ourselves back, because we often have this: I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when. What does that mean? What does that even look like? And if you really do have something that you're going, I'll be happy when, then let's get that to happen. Let's put a plan in place. And that is what living intentionally is, and having this mindfulness. I'll be happy when I've done so-and-so, or I've been to so-and-so, or I feel like so-and-so. Okay, then I need to start putting that into place now. I need to start thinking about that. I need to make intentional choices to get me there. And again, mindfulness is all about getting you to think, taking you to a place of different thought patterns, different processes, taking that time to question yourself, the self-awareness. Okay, so we did the how do you want to feel at the end of your day, and we did the how is your heart. Let's think about this. Is this your window of opportunity? And this is something I'd like to leave you with to do in your own time. As you can see, I drew a window because I do love drawing everything. I'm going to explain what I mean by this. I am 45. I look at my life and go, okay, let's pretend I'm halfway there. 90 would be a good age to get to, okay? I have a 21-year-old daughter who's happy, healthy, completing her degree. I actually live with her because, on a side note, I sold everything at the beginning of the year. I lived on a boat, I lived with a VW bus, and I sold everything because I wanted to have complete freedom because I'm going off traveling for my book. So I have my daughter, she has a home, she has her degree, a job. My dog is very healthy at the moment and happy, and she's 12, so she's not too old. My parents are young, they're healthy and happy as well. I don't need to be with them. I have got my book coming out. I feel quite healthy and happy. So I look at this as a window of opportunity for me to make the most of it. The book is called Living with Intention. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a book tour. I'll come and see you. So the concept of where I'm at now allows me to make a decision to say, I better do something. Whatever it is I want to do now, I've got a window of opportunity. And the reason I've realized this is because I have friends at the moment who've got young children. They can't just go off. Some of my friends have got older parents who are unfortunately becoming less healthy, and they need to be around for them. Or maybe there's a financial situation, or maybe as a 45-year-old to 50, I don't know, suddenly their hip has started hurting them. So I was seeing all of these people around me with different varying windows of opportunities that maybe they didn't take. Because we've all heard of that phrase that's like, when I retire, you know, the when I get to that stage. And I was watching this and realizing that I had this window now. Now, why I'm saying this to you now is not because you might have the window now. You might have it, but you might also be able to go, actually, I can see what she's talking about of where that might fit with me. So again, in a year's time, maybe in 5 years' time, before I get married or before I end up in a full-time position, I've got a window of opportunity now to do what I want to do, to live with intention. And my window right now is to do a book tour around the world and to travel. because tomorrow is not a given. I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm already a bit concerned thinking I'm actually waiting till June, but my window of opportunity starts then because my daughter's going to come with me and she completes her degree, and it's the equivalent of her gap year with me. If I could, I would be going in the next 2 months, but I want to do it with her, so I'm going to wait. But I will still have that window. And it, again, takes you to becoming present in the now, understanding what you've got, those choices, living intentionally. And I really enjoy actually working out the planning of that window as well. What does that window of opportunity look like? How am I going to make the most of it? So I want you to all think about your window of opportunity. Okay, so I think we're going to finish with this one. Let's do, yeah, I like this one. This is called the to-do list and the not to-do list. Sorry, that was my dog snoring. She's really finding this very interesting. So the to-do list and the not to-do list, they are both really important. And sometimes we all know immediately what we don't want to do, but unless we try it, we won't know the details of that. I'm going to give you an example. I thought I wanted to run retreats. So the way of learning about that is by putting together a retreat and running it with a couple of people. And I really had built up thinking this was going to be the best thing. I was so excited about it. But I realized it's not what I want to do. What I enjoy doing is actually being featured on other people's retreats, because then I can become much more present, much more now. It's basically producing versus directing. But I didn't know it until I tried it. So this isn't about not trying things, but giving you those choices to, again, live intentionally. I think I want this, let me give it a go, and then I can make clear decisions on what I like, clear decisions on how I want to live my life. Because as I said, we only have a finite amount of time, and we don't know what that looks like. Because this game of life we're all in, okay, there are only two certainties. One is we've arrived, and the other is we're going to disappear at the end of it. Doesn't matter whether you believe in the next life or any of that. This physical life, this moment of being like this, does not last forever. They are my only two things that I know and have 100% certainty. So I live my life as if that could happen at any moment. Doesn't mean I spend all my money or anything like that. It just means I choose what I do with it. I live with that intentional choice. So a to-do list and a not to-do list are quite fun things to come up with. And even on my to-do list, I know that I love things like picnics. I love going off and sitting in nature. That's on my to-do list, because I want to know I've done that. I want to know I've made a conscious decision to enjoy those things that I enjoy doing. What I don't enjoy doing, I know, again, because I've tried, is going skiing. I don't like being cold. I don't like being in the cold weather. So I know that that's on my not to-do list. So when someone says to me, oh, do you want to go off? We're going on holiday. And I say, where? And they say, in the Alps, it's going to be -10. I can go, do you know what? I actually don't enjoy doing that. So I'm not going to do it. Conscious choices, living with intention and mindfulness, all in this one big ball of fun. Now, what I've gone through today is huge. It's a lot of stuff. It's these exercises come normally from me talking about these tools, going into detail with who we are, what we want from life. But maybe there's something that you'll take from these that will just get you thinking in a different way, or maybe take you on a different journey and a different path. And my book that will be coming out, I'll show you this was the handwritten version that I did. This is my handwritten version, and I've turned it into a book that is a guidebook in a way for you to follow, create, write, draw, get you thinking in a slightly different way. And you can do this book repetitively. It could be that maybe you decide to do it every year and look back on it and go, oh, what did I think last year? How did I feel about this? Or even some of these exercises, I do some of them every single day. And it reminds me to stay present and to stay grounded. So that book's out actually 19th of December. I'm very, very proud of that. And then I have various events that I run, and I have various experiences for people all around the world. I'm going on the book tour. But if you want to kind of keep in touch with me, then I have my Instagram, which is @medicine_with_words. My website, Medicine with Words. I think my TikTok's Medicine with Words, although I'm not very good at that. And then my own Elizabeth_B_T, because my full name is Elizabeth Blake Thomas, Elizabeth_B_T. And it's a good way to kind of find out what I'm doing. And I often put up little videos and exercises that might, again, just get us thinking. Because remember that mindfulness, it's about self-awareness. And if you can keep that self-awareness, that will trickle down into the rest of the world. And hopefully we can create this better environment. So I'm just going to check my list to check I've done everything. It's really important that I do this. So the only thing that I missed off here, which was hello and thank you. So I'll end with that. I have a fabulous, she's called Spa for Pups, lady that looks after Chai, my dog, and cleans her and washes her and brushes her, and and sometimes I'm in the middle of something else, or I wake up and I just think, oh, I just need to ask a question or find out when I'm seeing her. And I would write a message to her, and she would always write back saying, good morning or hello. And I would realize I didn't say that. And I just gone straight into it. And what that does, again, it just takes us back to being, hold on a minute, take a breath, practice the pause. Think about what we're doing, because I'm there. I'm already thinking at 8 o'clock in the morning, I need to plan this, I need to do that. But maybe somebody else isn't. So not only does the practicing the pause and saying hello or thank you or good morning, these little words, make a better moment for the other person, it slows us down. And again, slowing us down is key to this long, happy, healthier life. And if we can do that, then I think our mindfulness naturally builds, becomes habits, and other people start to feel that effect. So I mean, I'd love to hear about people's thoughts of what I've done, and whether it's affected them, or whether they're going to try these habits. So I don't know if anyone can speak now other than on the chat, or whether you've got an opinion, but it was lovely to share all of this with everybody, and I'm very grateful for the time. Ooh, let's look at the chat. I really liked how you talked about being your favorite self instead of your best self. I know, I like that too. I really like that. But again, it's just that change in words. That's what's so amazing. That's why this is Medicine with Words. Imagine just that one word. I mean, how does that make us think so differently? I love that too. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else? I actually reached out to someone doing this reading and asked that person how should I. Oh, I'm really pleased you did that. And unfortunately, it's one of the hardest things is getting over a pet, because it is not looked upon by the majority of society as something that should really be that serious or affect us so much. I have what's called anticipatory grief, because I couldn't understand why I was already upset and my dog is happy or healthy. And it is really important to check in with people like that, because you don't know what they're dealing with. And by saying, how are you? Or are you okay? People do give their quick responses, the autopilot answers. And by asking a question like, how's your heart? Suddenly gives them a moment of saying, actually, this is what I'm really feeling. And it validates people. It's a very good word, because we need to validate ourselves. So remember, everything I've said that's for other people is for us as well first, or for us first and then to other people. So thank you for saying that. That does validate their feelings. And that healing, remember that healing with a pet, it doesn't ever go away. Loss is one of those curious things, and it stays with us forever. So we all find our own ways of dealing with it and handling that healing. So thank you for sharing that. I think there are 3 minutes left, if I'm correct. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And our own. It's okay to say I'm feeling sad or unhappy or strange. Sometimes I feel so strange. I said to my daughter today, I feel like I'm two people today. I'm feeling so heavy with the world. It's so hard at the moment. The world is so sad and in survival mode in so many ways. And yet I was driving past along the PCH in California, looking at the ocean and the sun and the sea and the beautiful buildings. I was going, but the dichotomy of this beauty, and I have to remember that. So it's okay to not know how we're feeling and to question that and to think about that too. Yeah, I think it's going to be, my book will be on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I mean, it'll be in hopefully lots of bookstores as well, but it will be everywhere. My book, Filmmaking Without Fear, was my previous one, and it's the same publishers. But I think the Living with Intention will be in a lot more private bookstores as well, because I'll be doing my book tour around America and Canada. I'm very excited to share it. And I've already actually written my next one, which is called Life, Love, Loss, Lessons from My Dog. And I'm very excited to share that one in about a year's time. Okay, 1 minute. Thank you. Thank you. You see, how nice is that? Just stops us for a second. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming out for us today. And I like what you said earlier about how, like, maybe if you could take one thing out of everything that we talked about today, that would be good, because it's just about like being in the present, and maybe that one thing could really help you at this moment. And yeah, I really enjoyed your talk today, and I'm sure everyone did. And maybe if they don't align with this or anything, like, regardless, you were very convictive, and it's clear like how passionate you are about what you do, and like how excited you are. So thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Clappy hands. Thank you, guys.